Greetings, my fellow beings. My name is Amanda, and today we are going to be talking about celiac disease. Now, in one of my videos where I described all of the illnesses that I have, which after making the video I realized that I didn't put everything on there. But you know what? That list was long enough. No one needed to hear all of it. But you know, whatever. Anyway, so in that video, I said that when I was talking about celiac disease, there's going to be a lot of rants. Now, I have tried my best to be as non-ranty as possible, but we shall see. We definitely shall see. This is a illness that has a lot of misunderstandings that go along with it, and because I have it, I am usually in the midst of all of the misunderstandings that there are out there. So it's a special illness. We'll start with that. So first of all, I need to say that celiac disease is an autoimmune disease. So it is a real illness, and it does have tests that it can be done to prove that it is real. Now, celiac disease is an autoimmune disease that happens when a person eats a protein that is found in gluten. Now, gluten is found in wheat, barley, rye, and sometimes oats. And I say sometimes oats because oats are a very delicate plant, and so a lot of times they will be planted either in between or next to wheat fields because the wheat is strong, and so then it will blow over into the oat field. Now, oats and wheat look very similar when they are harvested, so it's almost impossible to separate the two. So when I say sometimes oats, you need to get gluten-free oats in order for them to be 100% gluten-free. So wheat, barley, rye, sometimes oats. So the body is incapable of digesting the proteins that are found in these plants, and so the body attacks it. Now, what happens is that the body then attacks the villi that are in the small intestines. So the intestines have little villi, they're like hair-like filaments inside, and they are what collect the nutrients that are found in your food. So if you do not have those villi, then you starve to death. And it doesn't matter how much you eat, you starve to death. And since the body attacks those villi and it cuts off their little heads, so they're just little nubs, then the body can no longer absorb any nutrients, which means that you are going to starve to death, which is what pretty much happened to me. Not to death, I didn't die, but I was malnourished and I wasn't getting the nutrients I needed because I wasn't absorbing anything. So one thing that happens to people that have celiac disease is that their small intestines try really hard to compensate for the fact that they no longer have those villi in their small intestines. So they get rose-shaped small intestines. So all of those little nubs try and create some form of villi, and it ends up looking like little roses inside. Doesn't mean that it works very well, but it's trying its best. Now, when it comes to the protein that is found in these plants, we're talking about microscopic amounts can cause this chain reaction. So even if you cut some bread, some normal bread, with a knife, and then you wipe it off, and then you cut some gluten-free bread and hand it to your gluten-free friend, that person is going to have their body attack their small intestines. Microscopic amounts can cause this to happen. So when someone makes a big deal about, did you use the same knife? Can you clean that off? I can't eat that, you just touched that. It's not because they're paranoid or overreacting. They literally are trying to save themselves. So don't make a big deal about it. Just offer to do your best, or have them bring their own food to a party so that they can actually have food. Because it's not fun to show up to a party and realize that you can't eat anything. And salads don't count, okay? They do not count. I cannot tell you how much I now hate salads with a passion, because everyone's like, well, we have salad. I want real food. Thank you. With all the restaurants that you've been seeing, you've probably noticed a lot of gluten-free menus or gluten-friendly menus. The dumbest phrase ever. Gluten-friendly. The only reason they say gluten-friendly is to save their butts in case someone gets sick, because then they can say, oh, but it's because we don't have a clean kitchen. Not like clean as in scrubbing it down, but as in like there's not wheat going everywhere. And so they say gluten-friendly because it's not technically gluten-free. So that's why they say gluten-friendly. So I really hate the phrase gluten-friendly, because are you friendly to the gluten? Because if you're friendly to the gluten, then I shouldn't be eating there. Just, I told you there's gonna be a lot of rants in this one. This is, yes, be prepared for rants. They are coming. So you're seeing all of these restaurants, all of these different things, food products coming out, gluten-free, 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 and everyone's just like, oh, it's just this fad diet. God, I hate it. I have a love-hate relationship with the fad dieters, because if it wasn't for the fad dieters, I would have nothing good to eat. But it's also because of the fad dieters that I end up having to explain to people that I'm not faking it and that I really do need you to change your gloves. Yeah. But it's also because the ability to diagnose celiac disease has increased drastically in the last 10 years. So more and more people are going on a gluten-free diet because they have to. So, 1 out of every 100 people on this planet have celiac disease. And you're like, wait, what? That's a lot of people. You're right. It is. It is. The problem is that 1, the diagnostic measures are hard to get. 2, there's not enough training in the medical field, so doctors don't even know what to look like. And 3, celiac disease has over 200 different symptoms that could come into effect, so it makes it very hard to diagnose. So celiac disease can develop either as a child or as an adult. It doesn't really matter what age. You can get celiac disease when you are very old or when you are a young child. Now, the symptoms between children and adults are different, so that's also another thing that makes it difficult for doctors, because children have more gastrointestinal distress, whereas adults have more things like anemia and fatigue and headaches. So trying to distinguish between the 2 different kinds of symptoms can get a little bit difficult. The other thing that is really hard is that you can have people that have no symptoms at all and test positive for celiac disease, and then you can have people that have every symptom on the planet and get a negative biopsy. So it just is really difficult to figure out whether or not someone has celiac disease. And there are 3 different kinds of people when it comes to celiac disease. You have the classical symptoms, the non-classical symptoms, and the silent symptoms. So the classical are the people that have the digestion issues, the people that have the brain fog, the people who have the anemia or signs of malabsorption. Those are the classical signs. Then you have the non-classical symptoms. And these are the people that have mild gastrointestinal problems. They don't really have a sign of malabsorption. You may suffer from abdominal distension. These are the people that probably have anemia, neurological conditions, migraines. They could have rashes. These are the people that probably have osteoporosis or just kind of soggy bones. Those are the non-classical symptoms. And then you have the silent symptoms. These are the people that show absolutely no sign at all that they have celiac disease. and yet they have it. So these are the people that they can eat like all the bread they want and they're like, everything's fine. The problem is that it doesn't matter if you are classical, non-classical, or silent. The same amount of damage to your small intestines is being done. So whether or not you get horrible stomach pain after you eat a pizza, it doesn't matter. You're still doing the same amount of damage. You are still stripping those villi, and you are still hurting yourself. And in the long run, you are killing yourself. So it doesn't matter what your symptoms are. If you have celiac disease, there's no cheat days. You can't go and say, oh, well, I'm just gonna eat this little piece of pizza because I've been such a good girl. It's not a normal diet where you can be like, oh, I'm just gonna have a cheat day. There is no cheating. The only treatment for celiac disease is strict adherence to a gluten-free diet. If you do not stick to that gluten-free diet, you will strip those villi. Now, it takes 3 years to grow back your villi. It takes seconds to strip them. So you cheating, you probably took 3 years to finally get your villi back to where they were, and you're finally absorbing all those nutrients and you're finally getting what you need, and then you're like, I really want some pie. Find yourself a gluten-free pie, okay? Stop killing yourself. I have been on my gluten-free diet since December of 2010. I have never cheated on my diet. Have there been some mistakes? Yes. There definitely have been some mistakes, but none of them have been on purpose. None of them have been like, oh, I've been such a good girl, I'm just gonna have a piece of pie. Guys, I really want a donut. I don't think the world knows how much I want a donut, and not just any donut. I want a Krispy Kreme sugar donut, not a glazed donut, a sugar donut. I've already told my husband that on my deathbed, I want a Krispy Kreme sugar donut, and I'm going to tell the hospital to give me as much painkillers as they possibly can, and I am going to chow down on a box of donuts. Okay? That's like the one thing that I crave like constantly. Most things I have stopped craving, or I have found a gluten-free alternative, which is amazing because nowadays you can find almost anything with an alternative, and most of the time people eat my food and they have no idea that it's gluten-free. That's the other thing, is everyone's like, I'm not eating that, that's gluten-free. I was like, you won't even know. You won't know. Now, like 5 to 10 years ago, you definitely would know. Oh my gosh, it was so gross. So gross. I cannot tell you how many different kinds of breads I went through until I found one that was good. Like, oh my gosh. And there are still companies that still make things the old way, so it's super chalky and just kind of gross. And you're like, you know, you are the reason why gluten-free food has a bad name. But there's other products out there. So celiac disease is hereditary. So if you are related to someone that has celiac disease, you have a 1 in 10 chance of also having it. So get tested for celiac disease if you know someone, or if you are related to someone that has celiac disease. Now, I have celiac disease, and I am pretty sure that I got it from my mother's side of the family. Is anyone on my mother's side of the family willing to go get tested? No. Because not a single one of them is willing to go on a gluten-free diet. Because right now, that's the only treatment. There are a lot of tests being done now on different kinds of treatments that show a lot of promise, and I know that in my lifetime, there is soon going to be a shot that I can take, and I'm going to eat myself a baker's dozen of donuts. I know it's going to happen. Right now, gluten-free diet's the only way to go. So I am almost 100% sure that I got celiac disease from my mother's side of the family, because symptoms from that side of the family are very positive signs for celiac disease. But none of them are willing to go on a gluten-free diet, so okay. Now, I also have my husband's side of the family, which they do have celiac disease. So they do eat gluten-free, and this is how I got diagnosed, was because of that side of the family. So how I got diagnosed was in 2010. I got very, very sick, to the point that I no longer could keep my head up. I no longer could eat anything. Everything hurt. We also pulled out like the hide-a-bed in the living room, and I would just lay on the couch, and the TV was over here, and I just kind of look at the TV from the hide-a-bed, and I couldn't really move, and I was going from doctor to doctor to doctor, and no one was telling me what was wrong with me. And I had a lot of doctors just flat out tell me, it's not my specialty, I don't know what's wrong with you, be gone. And my father-in-law, who has celiac disease, said, hey, I want you to go see the specialist for celiac disease. And I said, we don't have the money to go see a specialist. And they said, no, we're gonna pay for it, you just go and don't worry about it. So we went, and I walked through the door after filling out my questionnaire, and he looked at me and he was like, I know exactly what's wrong with you. And I went on a gluten-free diet, and within a week I was out of bed. Now, mind you, I had seen one doctor that told me that if she could not figure out what was wrong with me, the way that I was heading downhill, that I only had until the end of the year, that I wasn't going to make it past that I was going to die by the end of the year because of how bad and how fast I was going downhill. And there is nobody like House that will just take you in and just keep you in the hospital until they figure out what's wrong with you. Which is one reason why ever since getting sick, I haven't really liked the show House, because that's not realistic in any way. I wish it was, but it's not. Anyway, so within a week of going on a gluten-free diet, I was out of bed, I was walking around, I was feeling great, life was good. It was hard, I'm not gonna lie. The first couple of years of being gluten-free was the worst. Like, I consider myself a foodie. I love food a lot. And we didn't know what places I could eat. We didn't know what foods I could eat. I learned very quickly how to read labels. I'm one of those people in the store reading labels, constantly trying to figure out whether or not I can eat something. And, you know, the first few years, they were rough. It's not so rough anymore. I had started a blog early on as well, called Celiac Trek, to boldly eat where there is no wheat. And I basically would go to different restaurants and find out what you could eat at different restaurants, and then I would write about it. Now there's an app called Find Me Gluten-Free that if you do not have it, I suggest you get it. It is not sponsored, but yes, Find Me Gluten-Free, at least in the US. I have not used it outside of the US, so I don't know if it even works outside of the US, but Find Me Gluten-Free really helps you find gluten-free restaurants, places that you can eat, and people will leave reviews on whether or not they got sick at said restaurants. It's not comprehensive. There are some restaurants that are not on there that you know that you can eat, or there are some places that you know darn well you cannot eat there, but yet for some reason they're on there because someone that is just gluten intolerant and not celiac disease has eaten there. There is a difference between gluten intolerance and celiac disease. Celiac disease is an autoimmune disease. Gluten intolerance is kind of like lactose intolerance. It's just your gut doesn't like it, and so it's going to throw a big hissy fit about having that in your system. So you're going to end up getting the gas and the bloating and the not feeling good and possibly diarrhea. But you're not damaging anything. You're just being miserable, and it's pretty awful. Celiac disease, you are destroying yourself. So there's a difference, okay? There's a difference. So if you do not treat your celiac disease, so you don't go on a gluten-free diet, what could happen to you? Well, you are way more likely to get secondary autoimmune diseases. You are also more likely to get cancer. So stay on your gluten-free diet. Let's go over some of the things that you could possibly get if you do not treat your celiac disease. Untreated celiac disease can lead to the development of other autoimmune disorders like type 1 diabetes, multiple sclerosis, and many other conditions, including skin rash, anemia, osteoporosis, infertility and miscarriage, neurological conditions like epilepsy and migraines, short stature, heart disease, and intestinal cancers. The short stature one made me laugh. But when you're talking about children who have celiac disease that goes untreated, if you're not absorbing nutrients, you're gonna be shorter. So I'm not saying that all people that are short have celiac disease. I'm just saying that it could happen. No one wants cancer, so eat your gluten-free food. Now, if you do not have celiac disease, or you do not have gluten intolerance, I'm going to tell you right now, gluten-free diets are not healthy. Okay, now I'm not saying if you don't have celiac disease, go out and eat, the pasta stuffed crust pizza. I think everyone would end up getting sick from eating that. But what I'm saying is that gluten contains really important proteins for your body. And people with celiac disease that go on gluten-free diets have to take supplements to make up for all of the nutrients that they're missing that is found in gluten. So it is not a healthy diet. So anyone that says, I'm going on a gluten-free diet because it's super healthy, no, it's not. It's really not. Just go on a everything in moderation diet and you'll be fine, okay? Yeah. I always tell people, like, it's not a healthy diet. I'm not promoting it as something like, you're gonna lose so much weight. It's not a healthy diet. You are missing out on a lot of very important nutrients. So make sure that you are eating a healthy diet and not a gluten-free one. Now, if you are on a gluten-free diet, make sure that you take the supplements that you need to make up for all the nutrients that you are missing, because, you want to be a healthy human being. Just saying. It's kind of important. Now, I had done a lot of research on this, not because I didn't know anything about celiac disease, but I wanted to make sure that I was up to date on all of the new studies done on it, and surprisingly, I haven't found much new. It was kind of shocking to me that I didn't find a lot of new studies. I used to give a lot of presentations on celiac disease when I was first diagnosed with it, because I went full into research on celiac disease, because I thought the diet that they told me I had to eat was the dumbest thing I had ever heard in my life. And sure enough, it was. I basically was told that I could eat 4 different things and that was it. And I was like, I'm not gonna live my life like that. That's not happening, no. So I went full into research, and through my research, I was able to find that most of the things that people were telling me was wrong to begin with. So yay for that. But it had been quite a few years since I had done any research, so I wanted to make sure that I was up to date on everything, and I still am. Yeah, you would think with so many people with celiac disease there would be more research into it. I will say there's more research into celiac disease than there is into ME, but it's still not a lot, so yay. So takeaways from celiac disease. It's a genetic disease. It's an autoimmune disease. They are real. You have them if you are tested for it. If for some reason you have all of the symptoms of celiac disease or a lot of the symptoms and you try going on a gluten-free diet and it helps you, fantastic. More power to you. If you do not need to be on a gluten-free diet at all, don't. Just don't. Just don't. Okay? Celiac disease is real, it is scary, and people want to eat normal food. Do not give them a hard time. If you have celiac disease, there is no cheating. If you have it, do not cheat. You have to stay on your gluten-free diet until there is a shot that is produced that makes it so we can have our Krispy Kreme donuts, okay? I am very tired of seeing people be like, I'm just gonna have my little piece of cookie. Stay on your gluten-free diet. People that are friends to people with celiac disease, salads don't count, okay? So if you're going to invite them over, either clean everything that you have and make sure that it's gluten-free, or just have them bring food with them that they can share with everyone. That way they don't have to eat a salad. No salads. Bleh. Bleh. No salads. Also, don't give them a hard time. I can't tell you how many times I've been to a restaurant where someone has given me a hard time, whether or not it's the people I'm eating with or the serving staff. Like, I've had serving staff that have rolled their eyes at me, and when they brought out a salad that I specifically said I could not have croutons, mind you, it was like a house salad coming before my meal, it wasn't the actual meal, so no one get on my case about salad. When they brought the salad out, it had croutons on it, and I specifically said I cannot eat croutons, and then they take it back and you still see the crumbs, so basically all they did was pick off the croutons. It doesn't work that way. I can't just pick off the toppings off a pizza. I can't just eat the salad once the croutons have been taken off. Remember, microscopic amounts of gluten can destroy your small intestine in seconds. So there's no just picking off things, okay? So, I hope you found this video informative. I hope that you learned something about celiac disease. I hope that if you have it, that you are managing it correctly and that you are feeling wonderful and healthy. And I really am praying that there will be a shot soon or some kind of pill or something that makes us be able to eat gluten again. Because you know what? I went to a class once where they asked if there was a cure, would you take it? And there were people like, no, celiac disease is now part of my identity. It's who I am. I'm like, psh, psh, no, I want a donut. But also, I can't even kiss my husband if he's eaten something with gluten in it. So I always have to ask him, what'd you just eat? Did you just eat something that I... And if he just ate a sandwich or if he just ate a cookie, I don't get to kiss him. I don't get to be near his face. So, I want this cure. I want there to be a shot or a pill or something because I would like to not care about what my husband had just eaten. It's a real thing, okay? So, I hope you found this video informative. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you found a little piece of something from it that you could take away. I also hope that if you have celiac disease that you realize that you're not alone. There really is a lot of us out there. About 80% though, in the US are undiagnosed. So, there's still a lot more to be joining our party here. So, if you enjoy learning about different chronic illnesses, or you enjoy learning about someone living with chronic illnesses or life with chronic illnesses, or you just want to hang out with a crazy ginger, then go ahead and click that subscribe button. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. That way the YouTube algorithm can put out in front of as many people as possible. And also it helps me know that you actually liked the video. You know, it's nice to know. Remember to be kind. Kindness is free, so give it out to everyone, and I'll see you later. Bye. The mailman is here. How exciting. At least I think that's the mailman. Whatever. All right. The body cannot digest that protein. So what happens, it's a big package. Someone's getting something exciting. It's like, it's hard to record in front of a window because like there's all these things going on that I don't normally pay attention to. There's an outside world? What? What? Hi, outside world. Anyway, I'm being distracted, which is not good for a person with ADHD. I'm being distracted right now. With all the... So now you're... come on, Davis. And my sun just disappeared. I don't even see a cloud in the sky. Where? Apparently it just decided. I don't want to show my face no more because I don't want you to have lighting, Davis. Rude. Rude. You have to stay strictly on your gluten-free diet because that hi person waving at me as I'm hiding, I don't even know who he is. I'm sure my husband knows who he is, but I don't know who he is. Guys, I need to not be near my window right now because there are people that I don't know. That sounds horrible, but you know what? I have turned into a recluse. Anyway. So celiac disease is hereditary. So if you know someone that is related to you, thank you, fly. There's a fly in my house. That means my cat let him in. Thank you so much, Winston. So